Good afternoon. It's Saturday, and this is going to be a shorter one because I have Monsters and Memories to play in a bit, in about 4 hours, and well, there's some stuff I need to do, or rather, more accurately, need to do is the right answer because I really need to do it. I don't want to do it, but I need to do it. So the stuff I need to do, but at the same time, I want to do a bit of this because, well, every little helps. And so let's get down to making some lace and do as much as we can in the shortest possible time. Because, as I say, I've got things that I would like to be achieving. So, some of this is all tangled because it got knocked yesterday. Well done, dog. Right, so, one pair, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, yep, you get an extra pair, there you go, makes you 5, you look short, 1, 2, 3, 4, and what do you mean 4.5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, no, I was going to say, and you end up with 4.5, right, so that's 3, 4, 5, put you in a stick. So I have been doing, well, I have done some, I won't act like I did a lot, but I have done some tidying today. And for those who know me, they will know that this is a big deal, a very big deal for me. For it is my most loathed pastime. And, well, yes, things I'd rather not, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are far better things to be doing than tidying, in a lot of ways. But I have reached a state for which even I, Liz, the tolerable of mess, feels I ought to do something. Really feels that, maybe this is a stage too far. Maybe this is a bit much, I don't have rats, cockroaches, nothing like that. It's just, I am a bit of a hoarder, but, yeah, it's not ideal. There are better things, but I really feel like I ought to do a bit of tidying. Not a lot's going to come from me having done a bit of tidying, but I feel like I ought to do a bit of tidying. I ought to really do some. Well, actually, I need to do something. Let's not pretend it's ought. It's I need to do some tidying. There is no two ways to look at that. Doggies! What were you doing? I have become very aware that you are full of the joys of Woof, and I need to be sure what you're doing, because it's probably something you shouldn't be. Yes. It's probably something you shouldn't, for you are dog. Yes. More pins. That's right, you rattle your ears and smack me with them. Sigh. So yes, I don't imagine we're going to get a lot done today, but as I said, every little helps, so, let's do what we can. So, you go out, back in the stick, up there, preferably not the short route. Okay. You need to come in, twist. So yes, tidying is part of the reason I have come to the conclusion that it is a necessity, not, I mean, it's like a lot of things. You could wash the windows, or it could wait till tomorrow, no, it's not really a problem, right? So, there is need, and then there's need, right? And I kind of really need to tidy up a bit. I mean, I am not a naturally tidy person. Well, that's not true. I have piles of things. And the piles of things can be very chaotic looking to others. However, to the autistic brain cell that is very good at keeping track of things, I still know where everything is. And, well, this is kind of the problem. Because I know where everything is, I don't tend to feel the need to tidy it. Because, well, I haven't lost it. And all these people going, oh, you'll never find it. Yeah, well, that's not a problem. I know exactly where everything is. But, dogs, don't be so annoying today. I'm not in the mood for that. Ow! Don't maul me. Dog claw to the arm, even though I've got a jumper on. Pardon you. Just come, Rory, come here. Come round here. Come here. Come and sit down here in your usual spot. There. Now. My man. Oh, yawn. Oh, what's... Seriously! You've been off doing dog things, and now I've sat down to do a me thing. It's all about you, is it? Don't say yes to me. You can't see this, but there is. I am being kind of attacked by two fairy animals who really do not need. You are not starved, deprived, unwanted, uncared for animals. No, you're not. We spent the whole morning doing dog things. Mummy bought you a huge box of bonios that will arrive tomorrow. Your favourite things. And 12.5 kilos of bonios will arrive tomorrow. Yes, they will. You did this towards the end of stream last night. Now, I do love you dearly, but lie there down and get out my face. You know? Please? Please. You've got a whole house to mooch in. Go and mooch in it. There's a garden, It's reasonably warm out there, actually. I think. I don't think it's that cold out, so... you can go outside, you can... okay, the sun's gone in, but... it's quite nice. You can play in the garden and chase each other around, bark at next door, bark at Mrs. Outback, the birds. I mean, there's a whole range of activities. And it does not require mauling me, no. For when we have finished an hour or so of this, depending on where things end up. Where's my pokey stick? There it is. Stop being annoying. I will go back to the process of doing a bit of tidying. And you, my friends, need to stop trying to eat all the things that I find. Because then they aren't edible. Nothing we have found is edible. The only surprise thing we found so far was a snail. Okay? It was a snail. And he got thrown out the door. Yes. Because snails are outdoor pets. Yes. I I don't mind snails. I have no problem with snails. They're big, but you know. They're outdoor pets. You are both. No, you don't play with the outdoor pets. I don't like it. And then this evening, you will need to do dog things, because today is very much a you need to do dog things day. Yes. For tonight, there is the Monsters of Memories test, for which I will be Monsters of Memorying. And you... I won't be streaming it, because I can't be bothered. But if I had thousands of viewers, I probably would, but, you know. To be honest, the main reason I can't be bothered to do it, changing all the tags for the stream and all the... I'm terrible at remembering to change them, so... But we will be playing Monsters of Memories. And, my dear dogs, that means I do not need doggy tea assistance. Yes. I found some broken glass in an Amazon parcel that, while I'd opened and got out the jars that I wanted, the jar that one of the three jars that I didn't need just yet was still in the box. And I thought I'll take them out of the box so I can put the jars somewhere, because obviously, you know, the 3 jars will take up a lot less space than the boxes for them. And open one of them. Hi, Net Kisser. So yeah, I opened one and the jar was just absolutely mullered. I've never seen a masonry jar this mullered without chucking it, you know, real hard. I mean, it takes a lot to break masonry jars, to be honest. And this thing is toast. But of course, what it did do, I thought for some reason maybe I'd ordered a shorter one. So I hadn't ordered, like, you know, them all the same. I'd ordered a shorter one. No, it was smashed, and for some reason my brain didn't pick it up. So of course I opened the wrapping and all the shards of glass fell out. All over me, all over the floor, so... I had to hoover that so that the dog paws don't end up, you know. That's not right. Didn't end up all kind of munged. And I can't help but feel I've got some in my clothing. Somehow. Every tiny little kind of feel that I have, because I don't know about the rest of the world, but I get like little tickles and like pokes and of nothing. There's nothing there, there's no reason for it, but some nerve ending goes, I got poked, I got stabbed by the invisible stabby thing. And my brain's constantly sitting here thinking I'm being poked by shards of glass, which is really not what it needs. So, did I get a pin out? I did. There it is. Put that in now. You could be sure. This is what I remember from before. and why I like the other bobbins is A, while some of those bobbins still came undone quite a lot, not half as much as these do. And because these is just like permanent adjusting of bobbins because they've got longer. But also they didn't roll as much, but these do stay in the sticks so much better. So win some, you lose some. What I need is this shape made out of the same heavy wood that the others are made out of. That's what I actually need, isn't it? That's got to be 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's put you in a stick. That's what I actually need. And the ability to do this with bobbins with my left hand better. There we go. Yeah, my brain suffers quite a lot from the... It's like if you've seen, I don't know, a pile of ants in the house, you know, for whatever reason, right? Maybe there's, you know, for some reason you found ants. You've been somewhere and there's been ants, I don't know, in the garage or whatever. And then all you do all day is itch because you think there are ants everywhere. And my body's really good at that. And so having seen glass shards, all it can decide now is that there are glass shards everywhere. Which of course there are not. But it's not going to hear it, so I'm itching. So how's Netkisser doing? So this is going to be a short stream today because I've been doing something that I really should be doing and not doing this. But I'm doing this because, well, this is more interesting. Even though I'm kind of bored of triangles, it's still more interesting. And yeah. Oops. It's a bit far down. Don't you know? See, this one just took a big long run off the edge of my pillow then. Just watched it get longer as it ran to the side. And now my brain just completely farted. And so I put a bobbin over this. And my brain's going, but I don't know what to do next. Well, as it goes under over, I mean, it's really not that hard, brain cell. Let's try. There we go. This is the only problem with these bobbins is that I find myself stopping to fix a bobbin. And my brain cells just completely lose track of what they should be doing. Which is not a good thing. Which kind of increases the chance of mistakes to pretty much a guaranteed level. So you just got longer as I moved you. Because I felt it. And of course the other thing that happens is the thread gets caught on the mushroom end of the bobbin. Which doesn't help. Of its friends. So you're just coming undone, the pair of you, constantly. And I even remembered to wind you from the bottoms this time, to make your lives easier, so you had less excuses. See, a minute ago, all these bobbins were level, and now 2 of them are longer. It's not my imagination, people. It is truly that they are doing it to spite me. See, look. See? It just kind of went... You do that and it just kind of comes and you loosen it and it goes round and you loosen it and it goes round. And this is what happens to them. They just kind of undo. And I know it's not because I've done the half hitch wrong. Because it's not really frigging hard. But for some reason, some people have more luck with them than others. And other people do 2 loops, which I find doesn't make any bloody difference whatsoever. I mean, it should help, but it doesn't. Or it didn't seem to when we tried it a number of times. Now, it's suspicious that there's a pair of bobbins there. I feel this is not right somehow. Yeah. That doesn't feel right. That feels kind of wrong. But it's not, because those 2 come from the top of the, or the bottom of the rose ground, so arguably they're not wrong. You need to go back the other side of that elastic. Thank you. You need to come down. You can go around there a second. You can come down here. Because we won't be needing you for a minute. Put you back in your stick. sharp bits. There's no obvious sharp bit, so stop telling me there's a sharp bit. I've got to think about how I'm going to do this. I want to do a full hitch. So I need to go around that way and then round that way. Now pull out, you little shit. Right. That's the kind of mood we're in today. That's definitely where we're at. Now friggin' try it. It will. But maybe not that bobbin, you know? That way, and then that way. A bit longer than I wanted, but never mind. The price of that. So that way, and that way. There we go. Yeah. Actually, it can still work a little bit. Just not as well. There we go. Right. Converting knots, as every single pair of bobbins I touch just seems to be the wrong length, which really doesn't help. One of those, and can you? Thank you. One of those. Stop resisting. Drink. So come on, people. How are you doing today? Other than watching me, because clearly I can tell you're doing that. What are you up to today? What are your plans or not plans? What are you avoiding by watching me? Because I understand that can be a thing. I wonder if it is just a case of if we do this not round the other way, like that, maybe that will help. Feet going to sleep. Stick. The stick. doing this not the other way around, much as it feels entirely cack-handed, does seem to be helpful. Now, I'm sure there's a really good reason for it, and I don't need to know what the reason is, but as long as it works, does it matter? The answer is no. So, doing this not the other way around definitely does seem to be beneficial. And it's not a double knot, which does make it mean that it's, it's easy to control, because it's the same knot as the other one, it's just the other half. And, well, if it works, hallelujah. My stomach because I haven't eaten. Let's convert to moving in the other direction, because this is getting too many bobbins to swing about accurately. So that is 2, 3, and we will twist you all before we forget. We will change your knot because you're being annoying already. In fact, let's change all your knots because you're going to be busy. So. You need to be short there. Okay. Too long. In case you wondered, I am having a bad breathing day. So if you hear me breathe, I apologise. It's not an element of a dirty phone call. It is just because my breathing is worse today. I was breathing quite audibly when I got up this morning. It's past. I mean, I'm not struggling. I just happen to notice that it's doing its thing, Feel right. Box alert. Attacked by a killer box that's been up there for a day and has now decided to land on my head. I'm not convinced you were the right thing. Yeah, you are actually. Okay, you need to be shorter. Because everyone else is short. Luckily, you need to be longer. do some poking. Because, well, we need to do some poking down. Because these pins will be staying. I think that's it. That one. You are not helping. Let's see if we can make you help. Possibly not. Not easily. With a bigger pokey device. Now you're doing what you should be. That helps. Yes. Yes. That's much better. Where's my little picky stick? Hello, picky stick. Can you pick out this pin, please? Yes, that one. Can you pick out here? Thank you. Picky stick. Right. So. There. What time is it? Oh, it's been nearly an hour. Now, but it is 3 o'clock. I've got 3 hours, and there's no way I want to spend 3 hours doing that. So let's do a bit more of this then. So let's move you round like this, like this. You need to go back over here somewhere. You need to go back in there. Right. So, you are twisted where you shouldn't be. You can wind up and get a new knot. Wind up for a new knot, but not be maybe quite that short. Everybody can have a new knot. See if that helps, because, well, it seems to be vaguely beneficial. So we're going to convert to new knot, and then in a bit, if we discover we still hate ourselves, then that's another thing. So, changing of the knot. Thank you for following Triple Shift 4. Thank you. Welcome to the channel. If you have any questions, all you need to do is ask. And these two, runaway gift. Thank you. It's kind of not as complicated as it looks. Lots of people laugh when I say this, but if you can lift something over something else, you can do lace making. You really can. For there are only 2 moves. Left over right, or right over left. Everything is a quantity of that. And basically, that's it. That's all you need to do. Now, when I do this, I'm cheating and joining a bunch of moves together because, well, why not? Because, well, why not? And spinning's great fun. I will assure you now, long draw spinning is achievable. However, until someone teaches you the secret, 90% of the time it will appear like dark voodoo and clearly is witchcraft, and frankly anyone who can do it should be burned at the stake, right? Just warn you that now. I can long draw. I can. Which is why I speak with authority on this one. Because it's evil. Well, it's good, but it's evil. 1, 2, 3, 4. See... I feel that that's the wrong number. Because it is. Should have twisted you. Let's untwist you. Because you should be part of the deal, as are you. So yes, it's... Long draw, if you ever watch someone long draw, you watch what they do, and all they seem to do is go... Treadle, holdy, hold, treadle, treadle, voodoo, and out comes like a metre of yarn. And then they treadle it all in and go, treadle, voodoo, and it, every time you try it, all that you end up doing is re-threading everything back up on your limb. And on your wheel, sorry, I weave as well. And it just... Because, well, I mean, even if you're not doing it on a wheel and you've got a spindle or you've got, and you're even doing like park and draft, right? Where you have utter control. The letting go and yanking back and praying to God method, or voodoo. Basically I always refer to them as inchworm and voodoo, right? Just because, well, very true. It is a problem, right? It is a problem that when you start out, it's not that you're trying to do things that are beyond you. It's just that the inchworm method is something that your brain can latch onto and kind of work out for itself. It works out that passing a bit of twist is generally bad for itself, so it does not. And then off you go, you do your thing, and out comes a lovely worsted yarn, right? You then go to make your woolen yarn, because you want something a bit more light and fluffy and warm. And all you do is get frustrated and annoyed with yourself. And you are not alone, because I think, frankly, we all did. Now... I went and took lessons. It's the only thing I've ever had a crafting lesson on. And I had to go a freaking long way to do it. And the poor lady was not very well who was doing it. And, she said to me, well, I was going to cancel, but you were driving such a long way and I assumed you'd already set off. I didn't like to. And I felt so bad by that because, if she wasn't well and she really didn't want to do it, yeah. And so from that point of view, it was, I felt really bad. So it wasn't a very long lesson and it took me like 3 times as long to drive it as I actually got, a lesson thereof. But, she set me on the path to success. And frankly, that makes it worth it. It really does. And I'm not the most efficient voodoo spinner, because I still do the snap off chunks and then use the chunks rather than can start from a big ball of fluff, because the big ball of fluff, still not so much. But if you snap them off into little tufts, and of course you can do quite a few tufts in advance, well, depending on where you are, I will say this to you as a word of warning, because in my quest for learning long draw, I too went to the local guild. And the woman here, now obviously I'm not going to say exactly where I am, but the woman here, so it's a word of warning of, do not have high expectations. If you go in expecting basically a bunch of people to be sitting around doing crafting, fine. But do not necessarily expect anyone will want to help you. They may, and that's great, but they may not. Don't be surprised. Because the lady who ran this group was savage, frankly. There were two of us who were coming for the first time. Now, normally this one was held during the working day, so normally I wouldn't be able to go, and quite frankly, I'm pleased about that, because obviously, if I was more able to go, I probably would have gone back. Oh, hang on, I'll deal with the spam bot. Let me deal with the spam bot. And, I know I'm a little bit odd, but there was also this poor woman who was like twice my age. And she'd been spinning all her life, pretty much. And this woman tore strips off her about how she was doing it all wrong, right? Well, the answer is if you got the yarn you want at the end of it, it wasn't that wrong. And she made this woman cry a lot. She really upset me. Yeah. So hence I'm spreading the word. Not all guilds are equal. You may be lucky, get a great one, or you may get a really clicky one. Well, especially for people like me who are not exactly people friendly. I find doing people really hard. And, apparently I left loads of stuff there. Do you know what? I have no idea what I left. I never went to get it because I knew I could not face this woman. And, unless I'd left my entire wheel there, which would have been a pretty difficult job, I might have left everything I ever made until that point there. I still wouldn't have gone back to get it. I could not face speaking to her again. Not at least on the same day or within a week. The memory was too fresh. And do you know what? Even today, I'm not sure, and it was, it was a little while ago. It wasn't that long ago, but it was a little while ago. I'm still not sure I could go back there today and be civil to her. Because I've never felt so unwelcome in my entire life. Now, some of the other people who were there were really nice. But they also said, oh, she's always like that. Well, if she's always like that, I don't want to go. I don't want to pay her money. I mean, I got there at the time she said, right? She said, I don't know, let's say it started at 10 o'clock. So I got there for like 10 to 10. She turned up at like 10 past 10. And she wasn't done setting up till nearly 11. But I did most of the setting up. She didn't thank me. Even though I didn't know her from Adam and I was doing all the work. She didn't thank me. She then wanted to charge me quite a lot of money for a very small amount of tea and a biscuit. But I could only have 2 in the entire time it was going to be open. I'd specifically asked her because, I asked, she able to show me how to do long draw? And she said, yes. And I asked her at the beginning, she said, I haven't got time for that now. Okay. Could have been a bit polite about it, but, okay, maybe you're a bit, overwhelmed yourself. I'll let that ride. So, I got to a point where she was sitting down, minding her own business, I said, so would you be able to show me the long draw? And she literally spun her wheel round, did one, long draw without any explanation whatsoever, and it didn't actually stay working, it all fell apart, and that was it. That was her effort. That was it. I paid money for that, and no one else was spinning. Everyone else was doing weaving or knitting, and it kind of was like, now don't get me wrong, I knit and crochet and frankly do all manner of other shit, but I specifically went there and she knew I was coming on that week with that in mind. It's not like a surprise with it or anything. Yeah, it was a horrible week. And the fact that so many of the other people basically either were cliquey with her or were only there so that they were not doing this alone. And it was. And you know, God forbid, if I ever manage to retire, I will start up another group. I will start another group. I haven't really got time to do one in the evening because I'm doing this kind of stuff. But, you know, I'd be really tempted to start a craft evening or a craft thing, because I noticed that there was a knitting group, for example, not far from here. Yeah, but they only meet on a Tuesday afternoon. I'm sorry, I earn money. That's how I pay for all my crafty crap. Why are these things so rarely done at a weekend or in an evening when, you know, those of us who do a job for a living have got a chance? Now, obviously, if you're a shift worker, you could argue the same. Well, they're all during the day and never at night. And exactly, they're almost the group for people who are either house mothers or retired grannies. There's kind of like nothing for anyone else. Now, in fairness, I am aware, I believe it's today, in fact, right now, there is a group of lace makers getting together. I say just down the road. It's not literally just down the road, but it's, you know, within a handful of miles from here. And I mean like less than 5. Well, I think it's probably a bit more than 5, but it's not far off 5, right? So, from that point of view, I could have gone and done that today. But I don't know any of them. And I'm not very good at going to new places, meeting new people. I can do kind of one or the other. I'm not very good at doing both. I really struggle with that. So, I didn't go. Clearly, I'm here. I've got other things I should be doing, but I am tempted to go. No, you know, maybe next time they say they're doing something, because they are local. But at the same time, not knowing anything about them and what they're doing, I mean, I'm a beginner, arguably, with lace making. I mean, I did some when I was, you know, like 10 or 11 or something. But realistically, I woke up last October and decided to do this. So, you know, I am no queen at it. I do not have all the answers. I make plenty of mistakes. Most of them are visible. You know, I'll point half of them out. And the best way to find your mistakes is to post a prouder picture of it on the internet, for then all the mistakes will go, hello, I'm here, look at me. You know, they do that. They literally do that. But what if I go and it's like watching a bunch of 9-year-olds doing it, and you feel really out of place, and like, I mean, you know, as I say, I've been doing this a handful of months. Now, don't get me wrong, I've done quite a bit of hours worth in those months, but realistically, I am very much a beginner. So if I go and yet I still feel I've left these people behind, and that, you know, they'll all be asking me questions, and it might as well be my group, but I'm not getting, you know, and it, you know, it's like turning up to a training course and then you train the trainer on how it works. Kind of not the right way these things should be working, right? And just realised I should be using these pins. Oh well, never mind. There's plenty more to use them on. And so yeah, I mean, I do tend to pick crafting stuff up pretty quickly. So from that point of view, there is actually a high chance of me turning up and finding people who've been doing it, you know, I don't know, say 5 years, and yet I know more about it, or I've tried more things, or I've done more things, and I can answer far more questions than they can. And it's kind of like, I came here to learn something, not because I'm new and I know more than you do. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That doesn't look like 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, it is. So get on with it. All right. Or maybe I don't, maybe some of that, maybe, what if, Mrs. Evil Woman's there, right? What if she's now moved on to doing this, and now I'm, I go along feeling all happy to, give something a try, even though I have little faith in it, kind of thing. And there she is, scowling at the door, Yeah, I just... So yeah, depending on where you are in the world, maybe you'll have a completely different opportunity. And I'm not saying expect to hate it, because I honestly would like to believe she is the only one. But I also know she's not. So, but of course, there are going to be loads of good ones. Because, of course, they're not the ones you hear of. You only hear the, oh my god, I ran into this at my groups, right? It's so it is just the, be aware that you may want to be a hasty retreat, because, now you can see why they burned all the witches, it's... I mean, so much of you would like to think that it's about people spreading knowledge and helping others achieve things with their hobby, and some of it is about brushing their egos. So depending on which one you get, it will, dictate what happens when you get there, really. Clearly I found Mrs. Dictates I need a load of people who love me, and frankly, if you are not saying how wonderful I am, even though I actually didn't do a damn thing all day, I'm not going to like you, and I'm going to treat you like dirt, which is kind of where she was. So, because I remember when she was talking to the lady that she made cry, and she said to her, well, how long have you been spinning? And she goes, oh, I learnt when I was 12, and as I say, she was twice my age, so she'd been doing it. And she goes, so I've been doing it something, I think she said something like 60 years, right? And she literally said, well, you're doing it all wrong. No wonder this isn't working for you. And the kind of the look on the woman's face was, well, actually it was, but, and she kind of did the same to me. Now, I was a very early spinner, which is why I'd thought, I'd meet people and learn, because, well, learning's a good thing. And I'd done some spinning, and I'd made a couple of garments with it, and I'd taken one of the garments with me, which was a pair of fingerless gloves, because, well, frankly, it's a tube with a thumb, right? It's not particularly difficult to make, but at the same time, it was something I was proud of, having made the yarn and the glove, and I was feeling kind of, and they were warm, and they were lovely, and they were black, and we all know how much working with black sucks. So there were lots of things that I felt pretty fan about, and I can tell you why she didn't like me. I'm pretty sure I can tell you already. I already kind of knew she didn't like me. So, as you may be aware, depending on how much twist that goes in your yarn, and also, of course, the direction of the twist, and how you knit, all these things change how the yarn knits up. And I had spun them in the correct direction, so that was a thing, but I'd probably slightly overspun it. But it was only slight. And I did pick knitting. Now, pick knitting, or continental knitting, as it's known over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If your yarn is a little bit excitable and you do pickety, 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 instead of ending up with the V shapes, you end up more with a bar and a slant. So you end up with bars and a slant rather than a more even V, right? It wasn't the type of knitting I learned, and I'm glad I did learn it as an adult, or taught myself it as an adult, because basically every single thing my mother ever taught me was a big pile of yak, and I hated knitting until I learned pick knitting. Now, I can do either. I can even knit left-handed if it helps, but now I've learned to pick knit and have choices. I have learnt to enjoy knitting because I now have choices. Except for beginning on DPNs, I have to do throw knitting on DPNs because the beginning of DPNs is chaos. But that alters how the yarn works. And so if it is slightly overdone, pick. It is pickety pickety pick. Anyway, I've got some yarn and some needles. I can show you the difference if you're interested. But it meant that my gloves had the bars and the angle, not the V's, right? And she, well, you obviously didn't knit it right. And I went, no, this happens a lot with yarn, even commercially paid for yarn, because I pick knitted it. Ah, that can't be true. You want to watch? She didn't know. But because even though she'd been spinning apparently for years and, you know, was heralded the queen bee, she didn't know. Time traveller friend, time traveller friend, confused. Confused. I'm easily confused today. So yeah, I think she hated me because I had shown that she didn't know everything and I knew something she didn't. And I think basically she was never going to let me be nice to me as a result, because I knew something she didn't. Of course, I understand now. Now that makes sense. Yes. Yes, indeed. For it is 3:30. And I've got 2.5 hours before Monsters and Memories. And I need to do more of the T word before then. Rory, can you not? Thank you. Need to do more tea. I have started some tea, and I did a bit of tea, and I've made for the time I spent on it, made a reasonable effort, but I need to do more. Yeah, it's a fair bit ahead of you after all. I agree with that. That is a fair bit ahead. But ever since I went to that group and ran into those problems with that lady, I guess I've always been a little bit more sensitive to it happening again. Hello, honey bear! But one of the things that has annoyed me greatly throughout my crafting life are people who are not prepared to share. Now, there are things you shouldn't share. So, for example, if I was knitting a pattern that was a, paid for pattern that I did not write myself, I should not share it with you because you have not paid for it. Now, that is a matter of legalities, and it is not really gatekeeping, as long as you say, if you want to follow along and join me, you can buy the pattern over here. because that's what you should do. But what I do struggle with is like I'm doing this. There is no secret in anything I do. And the pattern is one. I arguably made it myself, but it is based upon someone else's work, and I do not proclaim it entirely as original thought. It is based upon this paid for pattern, and it's a pattern by Big in Lace, and it's part of a country garden tablecloth pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Morning to you. So from that point of view, you know, I don't proclaim it as my own. It is a variation on one of her patterns. I changed. It's a bit like Trigger's broom. It is based upon, but none of the stitch is the same. The size isn't the same, and I had to move the positioning of the diamonds to make the rose grounds fit. So it's not very like her pattern for that reason. But it is arguably based upon her pattern, and so I do not take credit for the idea, only the variation. And why have you still got pins in when we can take some pins out? Let's take some pins out. I don't quite how I managed that. Anyway, so I have, but none of the stitches I do are my own. Now, the way I do my cloth stitch, no one taught me and I'd never seen anyone else do. But I have on many occasions explained why I do what I do, because, well, it's faster, but also it's more efficient. And it just seems stupid not to, in my opinion. Because, you know, why make your own life harder than you have to? I need to push that pin down. Where's my stick gone? I had it moments ago. There it is. That's right. This stick and the colour wood of my table is fairly similar. So they do blend in a little bit. Especially with the other things on my table. So yes, let's pull these so we can see what we're doing a bit more. Because we don't need you to have pins in anymore. You should have been the pins from there, so I don't know quite what happened along that occasion, but there we go. So we pull out all of you. The reason the rose ground is keeping its pins is because rose ground seems really prone at sewing time and turning corners to not be what you expected and to pull and turn into wonky shapes. So I keep all the pins in my rose ground till the end, because that way they do as they're told. So these ones here will keep them. These ones here will... Once I turn this corner, technically this lot could come out, but I put it under a cloth by then, so it generally doesn't. But yeah. Now it's 3:30. Yeah. If I'm going to do any more of the T word, I know I haven't mentioned exactly what the T word is, but frequent flyers here will know to which I refer. I really struggle to do something in life. I can do most things. I really can. I'll give anything a bash. It's not that it doesn't belong, it's just that I pushed it down and I didn't mean to. So for the example, there's another one. Right. And there's another one. It's not that they don't belong, it's just that they can come out. Because there's holes in this, I know you can't really... Oh, I've got a stick for that. That's a point. Where did my stick go? I bought a stick to assist in the pin department. I bought a little kind of torch-shaped... Oh, forget it. Hang on. Assume Dog and I have... No? It's not there. Must be over here then. Must be. I think there's been the dog and I had a. Yeah. I think it's under there. I think it's under my work laptop, and that's behind the dog, behind a cushion, behind a pile of, behind my stuff. So, the answer to that is on the floor in here, lots. So the floor in here really often, because quite often as I'm picking up pins from the pot, so as I grab pins out of this pot, I pick one up and it goes twing into the great abyss. And it's not that I'm not aware I've done it, but I don't generally see where it goes. It just kind of goes twing, and I have no idea. I have found one in the kitchen, which technically is 2 rooms over. Must have got caught on my clothing is the short answer, but was a bit of a surprise. And then there was the day I bit into my sandwich and there was a pin in it. The biting into it and it got really stuck in my tongue. You know how, like, you can... I mean, I'm going to stick it under my nail, but... So, you know, you can end up with a pin stuck like this, right? I don't know how it got there. I really don't. But it was kind of a good chunk up my tongue. And I couldn't shut my mouth because, well, pin was long and I didn't want to push it more into my tongue. And your tongue doesn't generally stay still. It likes moving around. So there's this kind of pin doing this kind of thing in my mouth. And I'm trying to grab hold of it with a pile of food in there because, well, duh. And because I didn't want to swallow it. Or bite it in half or anything. Trying to grab it, but between the fatness of my fingers and trying to get in my mouth with a load of food and my tongue, and my tongue's kind of going, help, help, there's a pin in it, help, help, there's a pin in it. I did panic quite a bit because, well, these are not short pins. I mean, this is not a short amount. So put that in your mouth. And it got quite a bit into my tongue, and I didn't want to. Yeah, that was definitely the worst. So hence buying the metal detector, because I don't want it in dog paws. I don't really want it in my own paws. Yeah. So but flying pins are definitely a thing. The number of times I am a ham-fisted mother ping flicker. I really am. So they do kind of... I picked one off the floor earlier. Occasionally I see them, but the metal detector is for searching for pins. Because while I have... Well, exactly. I mean, I have this, which if I put down a pin, is a really good earth magnet, right? So it will pick a pin up from a reasonable distance. But of course, I have carpet in here. And pins, Murphy's Law applies, get somehow immediately under the pile and don't want to come up with a magnet. So the metal detector is kind of essential, frankly. And it stemmed from a post I saw on Threads. Where a lady had got a birthday present and her husband, who was a lace maker, she was a lace maker and her husband had bought her a little metal detector and she was morally outraged. I thought the guy was a genius. Anyway, I will be back tomorrow. The reason I'm saying this is the ads are about to start. I will be back tomorrow. Join me if you can, playing Monsters and Memories this evening. It'll be a load of fun. Look out for Liz Biscuits. Don't ask. And we shall be back tomorrow. Maybe we can even finish this thing tomorrow. So yeah, take care everybody, and